it's almost, the federal government had lowered rates so low that you could buy a car, you could buy, you could just load up on stuff, including a house. When they chose to raise interest rates, they did something that they've never done in all of our history as the United States. They raised interest rates effectively over 100%, more than, I'm talking about how it related to mortgages, okay? Over 100%. They did it in 3 months, what we would normally do in 3 years. That is a lot, because what happens is, if you do something like, I'm gonna raise interest rates 100% over 3 years, it's a whole different mentality. You get used to it. You get to feel and work with it, and that's okay now, I accept that. You know what I mean? That's what's worked. But one day, you wake up, maybe you don't watch the news for a few weeks or whatever, and all of a sudden things have doubled. At the same time, because we were going through a pandemic, a lot of sellers were not allowing you in the house. They just weren't. I don't want to sell my house. I don't want people walking. I would show houses in 2020 and receive a call, because I normally will drop a business card off at the house to say, my name's Ralph Rizziello and I showed your house today. Okay? And get a call from the owner. Panicked. What surfaces did you touch? Think about that. How unfamiliar that is to us now, right? So this is what sellers were going through. I mean, not every seller, not all the time or anything else, but people didn't want you in their damn house. They felt like they had to sell their house, and now they want to Lysol every surface you ever touched, right? So when you remove sellers, what happens, right?
Nothing.
A lot of nothing, and also you've shrunk a market to something that's artificial we've never seen before. We never seen, look, if I want to buy groceries, and I've got ShopRites and Acme's and Whole Foods and all these other places, I can go to 20 different places to buy food around here. I can go to Columbus Market, there's markets I can go to, all kinds of places, right? But if all of a sudden I'm looking for meat and there's only 2 in a 30-mile drive from here, only 2 places, I've lost the element of competition.
Or toilet paper.
Yeah, or toilet paper, or toilet paper. That was a situation.
I will have to mention on that note, I tried to buy some, and there's a run on toilet paper right now, so I don't know what's happening in the world, but.
Yeah.
I don't use it. Go on.
There you go. So anyway,
Thank you,
so
Sharon.
think about it from the perspective, right, that we had a market that was filled with people, lots of people, right? Now, there's only 2 places to buy your groceries instead of 80 or 90. They're not sitting there lowering their prices. You know what I mean? Because it's just like, what did Mark do over here? What did Chris do over there? Okay, fine, big deal. Let's raise our prices. We can, and that's really what happened with real estate. Take that, layer it in, next generation. We always feed real estate by the next generation coming in, right? The next generation comes in, I want to get married, I want to have family, I want to just be independent from my parents, whatever it is, and they're buying houses. It's very common. When, in 2000, if you had a savings of $20,000, there was no doubt you could buy a house. And have a decent house. Not a great house, not like Steve's house.
It's up to 1.4.
Yeah, it's up to 1.4. But you can have a nice house. You can have a house, and you can be proud of your house. I've had young people come to me really proud. I've saved $40,000, $50,000, $60,000. Not enough.
Not enough.
Not enough. You ain't gonna get near a house.
Unless
You're
it
not
has
gonna-
wheels.
Right?
Unless
So-
it has wheels.
Yeah, unless it has wheels on it.
Even then,
It's a little tight. So we're taking people, buyers, out of the market. Who came into the market? Institutions. I think it should be illegal. I don't know how to make it illegal because
You mean
they're-
BlackRock?
what?
Institutions like BlackRock?
Yeah, like BlackRock, like BlackRock.
Yeah, they've been buying a lot of
Right?
assets.
All these companies, they're buying, they'll take an entire neighborhood that's new construction,
Buy it up.
and they'll just knock on the builder's door and says, I just bought your place. So let's just go think about who came into the market. Wall Street came into the market. $50 million, okay, here's a check, no big deal. I know, done. They were buying repossessions. Normally, I could go to an auction, right? And there'll be 10 houses up for auction, whatever it is, and these guys just had briefcases of checks, certified checks made out to the auction, to themselves, really, to their companies that they endorsed, right, over to the auctioneer, and they were just able to outbid anybody. They didn't care. When you don't care, and it's not your money, and your job is to buy stuff, you don't come home with no stuff, right? Because that's your job, you gotta buy stuff. They hold a very significant percentage of real estate in America today. Key areas, they want it key areas, but the numbers are like 4 or 5%. How the hell do you buy 4 or 5% of the United States of America? But they did. Now they want to sell it. Go ahead.
I took a picture of this yesterday, and it said in January 2021, it was like 3% fixed on a $400,000 house, the mortgage was $1,340.
1340.
January 2024, it's 7%, the payment would be $2,148. Now, you might, it says, plus 59, 2%. How is that possible that it could go up 60% in that short amount of time? Where's the legality part of it?
There's no legality at all. It's a market.
But that's
It's-
a
We've got to understand something. Washington has almost no say in any of this. It's the 10-year bond market. That's where all these mortgages come from. They don't even come from the federal government. Federal government says, I'm raising interest rates. Doesn't change mortgages.
Federal government does not control
Mortgages.
interest rates. It's the Federal Reserve, which is an independent body and is not.
I said it wrong. You're right.
It's
But it's a
not-
private bank too.
Yes, it's not the federal government. The president has no control, the Congress has no control, the Federal Reserve sets the interest rate. It's not the government.
When you see something wrong going on in the country, like all our land getting bought up by foreign entities, okay, people need to step up, and nobody is stepping up.
Well, it was funny because it wasn't funny, but
No, we
in
didn't
2007, we had major countries, and I think it was, I forget which one. They came in, they were buying a lot of stuff. Matter of fact, they were buying monument properties in the United
Yes.
States, and they lost their shirts in the 2008 recession.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So, yeah. But what's going on now is all these institutions buying these houses, they are collecting rent. We like the rent, we like the appreciation. Think about how they get an order from on high in their organization, they say, I want to sell the house. I want to sell them all. Just sell them all. Thank you, have a nice day. Boom, selling goods down. It's like a stock market, right? Buy, sell, right? Sell. Within 6 months or a year, they're gonna set prices. Whatever the price is, because they've made their profit already,
Thank you.
with rentals and depreciation, right? They control something that we don't control. It's not, first of all, it's not my money. You know what I mean? It's not even their money, it's just funny money. And if they say sell, and they own 5% of America, they're gonna sell 5% of America in less than a year. And what I'm hearing is they're talking about selling. What does that do? That helps to start what we consider a real estate bubble. It's the beginning of a real estate bubble. The second piece feeding a real estate bubble would be the Federal Reserve lowering interest rates, which they're saying they're doing, they are doing.
This month,
And the Treasury, the 10-year Treasury going down in interest rate, going up in price, going down in interest rate, and that lowers mortgages. We're gonna have lower mortgage rates. There's gonna be a point where we hit a level that now people can sell their houses and buy another one, and they're in a range that makes sense for them financially. I sell my house where I have a 3% mortgage, and I buy a house where I have a 4.5%, I can do that, I can kinda make that work. Right now, they sell their house when they have a 3% mortgage, they can't buy a house at 7, or 6.5, or 8, or whatever those numbers are. Okay, so they're just not doing it, they're not transacting business. Think about all the people that are gonna come on the market. We've had 4 or 5 years of bottleneck, you know what I mean, since interest rates went up. I don't remember the exact date, whatever, but we all know, we all lived through it. All those people, then what's gonna happen is houses will become much more affordable. Number one, you're gonna have institutions selling, and number two, you're gonna have interest rates lowered, you're gonna have more people on the market selling. And then, we still have one problem to resolve, and this is gonna take time. The next generation hasn't saved now they're spending. They're spending on experiences, and they're spending on vacations, and they're spending on a faster car, or whatever it is that they're spending on, because they had no hope of the market turning around and being able to afford a house and having a family and all that stuff.
They
So-
can't even afford rent right now. There's so many more children living with their parents
A lot.
It's an
because
epidemic.
They-
And
yeah.
that's how they're buying houses, by the way. The young people today that are buying houses, I'm not saying all and every and all that stuff. I just sold a house to a young person who earned their own damn money, single woman. But a lot of it's generational wealth. They're living with mom and dad, and grandmom and grandpop are just like, what do we need to do? Is $100,000? I'll write you a check. I mean, we gotta get you out of the house. You can't live here forever, right? So we've got some issues, and I don't know how that affects other things, but I think the only way, and nationally, by the way, statistically, or nationally, prices are going down. We're really having that pressure down. And one last pressure is only affecting certain areas of the country. California, Florida, Louisiana, whatever, but that is insurance, homeowners insurance.
Big time.
Big. What was $3,000 a year is 15 and 20. $1,000 a year.
Homeowners used to be very, very profitable.
Very, very
Cash
affordable.
cow. Auto was the big loser.
So it was
Now it's just the
affordable
opposite.
and profitable, now it's neither.
Yeah, so when you have homeowners insurance go up so high, right? What happens, both mortgage, you're gonna buy a house, right? Just take that bigger number and divide it by 12, and that's part of your mortgage payment. Right? It's 20,000 divided by 12, that
It's a
used to be a mortgage
mortgage
payment in and of itself. Well, that also goes into property taxes. Why does it go into, because municipally, they need, you know what I mean? They gotta collect taxes. They have to have insurances. When they have insurances and the price goes up, taxes indirectly, I mean, small amounts, but it all goes up. It all affects everything. And that's why we're having these fires.
I'm just amazed on what 1 percentage point on a mortgage over 30 years.
Does.
It's worth 30, 40, 50, $100,000 you're paying back on that extra 1%. I
Yeah.
mean, so
It's a lot. It's a lot.
a
And
1%
these
move
institutions-
means a lot, and the higher it gets, the worse it gets.
One of the problems that I have is that people say, you know, you marry your house and you date your interest rate. You know, I've heard this expression.
Monique said that.
Yeah, Monique used to say that. And it's a good sales pitch. But people think in terms of short time. If I tell you, wait, you're gonna buy a house soon, right? You might be thinking less than a year. Let's go, we'll buy a house, right? That's my thing. But soon for me, truthfully, for me, might be 2 years, might be 2.5 years, might be 3 years. You follow me? You're not feeling it. So if you did buy a house at these high interest rates and you say, oh, I'm gonna date my rates, my interest rate, right? Because I'm gonna dump it and then refinance, right? Maybe you have that interest rate for 5 years. That's significant.
And it's not free to refinance, sometimes
No,
it
it
costs
costs you
you like
thousands of
10 grand.
dollars.
I had a friend of mine, I used to refinance, like every couple of years, he goes, oh, look, I just brought my mortgage down $150 a month.
But you bought your bases up.
You brought your base up, and now you were
It's longer.
You had 18 years left on your mortgage. Now you got 30 years again. Where in the hell are you?
No, nobody's doing the real name. And that's the problem. So any questions, I think.
Is
When
it-
we bought our house in '01, we had the chance, the little townhouse, we got it for $85,000, don't forget, okay? We gutted it, we put like 50 into it, but my grandmother moved in with us and she did pay the mortgage off. Me and my mother were almost 15 years in the house before that happened, we still owed $83,000.
Because you refinanced.
No,
You
I
put
never
money out.
refinanced. I
Oh,
never
from the
refinanced.
from the react.
original, when she came, she paid the balance off, I guess does it hit you the last 10 years, your money coming off the?
Yeah, it's
the
kind of like,
balance?
yeah,
Because I was shocked.
early on, you're paying pretty much almost interest on a mortgage. And-
Certainly the longer the mortgage, 30 years, you're
For
paying.
30 years.
Yeah.
But where do you get anything for $85,000 now?
That's
You
one
know,
of the
I mean,
things
we were
that-
lucky as hell.
And you know, when you say taxes are a small amount, then I pay more in taxes than I do in mortgage.
Yep.
I pay $460 a month in taxes. That little house.
I don't wanna talk to you,
Charles.
Is it more beneficial, I always thought this, and I do it now, to pay more principal than what you know, pay additional principal on top of your
Depends on
mortgage?
how you manage your money. It depends on how you manage your money.
Generally it is.
I do. I have 2 mortgages that I pay every month, and I pay $150, $200 more every month.
See, I pay
whatever it
between
is.
3 and 5.
Okay, well, you have a bigger number. Percentage-wise, if you paid $100 more, it wouldn't do anything, right? You have a bigger nut. Plus, you have a, 5.5% interest rate, right? So what you're doing is you're investing at about 5.5% return. What are your other investments? But it's a guaranteed investment. Doesn't go up, doesn't go down. You just got 5.5%.
But the interest is tax deductible too, right?
No, it isn't. Only up to $10,000.
Okay.
No, that's
What-
taxes,
what-
you're thinking interest,
Oh.
potentially, that's property tax, but, interest, if you itemize, it could be, but if you don't itemize, when they
It doesn't
change
matter.
the,
No.
standard deduction,
Interest is limited by decree on home resident.
but you're saying 10,000 and refers to, there's like a limit, I think it's like, depending on the region, like $1 million or 750 for like jumbos or whatever. So the interest can be tax deductible if you itemize. If you don't itemize, it's irrelevant. You don't
Right.
get to deduct it anyway. The 10,000 refers to the SALT, state and local tax, which depending on what happens with the election, that could change because most likely if Trump wins, those tax cuts will be extended. Whereas if Harris wins, some of it might be, but a number of those, probably that'll go away because that's been very unpopular with the Democrats, and particularly because of the blue states where they tend to have a greater
Property tax.
and also greater interest, shall we say. you know.
But is, by paying the more principal, because I look at what we borrowed to what we still owe, and it's not substantially less, but it's we probably paid about 25 grand off of our mortgage. We've only been there
Gonna be 3 years.
3 years and the end of
That's very
November.
good, by the way. because you're at the beginning cycle of the mortgage.
Well,
right?
the
You
good
only-
thing is,
Your first mortgage payment example, 99.5% of it is
Your
interest.
interest.
Right, so if you double that, then you're basically, you're eliminating that interest.
Correct.
because anything you pay above that goes directly to the principal.
Yeah.
And the
No,
interest
what
is
you're
based on
doing
the
is-
balance,
What
so
you're doing
you're.
is something that I would advise you to do. Okay? It's one of those forced savings accounts.
Yeah.
Right? So,
Yes.
But then,
Thank you.
but David could speak to this too, but, you know, it's also the lost opportunity, if I put that money somewhere else, what would my return be?
All that money.
yeah, but I mean, that's why I said it depends on how you manage it. One second. Depends on how you manage it. If you're a goofball and you just need to spend it on hot rods and vacations, so then then maybe it's better to put it in the 5.5%.
Right, absolutely.
Right?
Because otherwise you're
So-
losing 15% on your other.
Right.
Go ahead,
ahead.
Chuck. Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
What I've found, instead of paying that extra money every month towards principal, is if you set up a payment schedule where you pay every 2 weeks.
Yes.
You're actually making an extra 3 or 4 payments a year towards principal.
It's
That's
actually
correct. You can do that too.
That's what
That
I've
is
done.
correct.
I've done
Some
that
banks,
for years
some
and
lenders
years.
will actually work with you on that.
You'll
Yeah,
shave about
no,
7 years.
I think
off.
any bank would
Yeah.
work with you on that. I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, because what,
That
you know,
works very well.
Bi-weekly.
you get get 1 month more if you do it. You get basically another
I'm not
month,
exactly sure how it
extra
works
month
out,
in the
but-
year of payment. That's really what it
That,
comes down
that,
to.
but that whole payment goes directly to principal.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, a lot of them have online payments, so
Oh,
you could send them money whenever you want, a lot of them. You don't even have to do it. I mean, that's a good way to kind of put a mindset, but if you say, you know what, I'm just gonna shoot them $500 or something, you go on a website for the mortgage provider.
Just make
If
sure
you don't
just
have
make
that
sure
extra
you earmark
$500
it.
every
Yes,
month.
it's principal, not just.
Yeah, you
payment.
wanna
And you're
earmark
making
it for
that
principal.
payment every 2 weeks, it's automatically coming out basically, and you kinda don't
So
miss it.
you have it set up that already with your mortgage person, every 2 weeks you're making a payment. It's
Yeah.
not you're deciding, okay, I'm gonna make an
Right,
extra
so-
payment.
So, months that you have 5 weeks, every other month, you know,
Yep.
you're making an extra
You're
annual
actually making
payment or
extra.
whatever.
Mortgage payment, of course.
Now, instead of 24, you're making 26. That's what's
Yeah.
happening. One of the other things I just want to bring up is it's food for thought. When you crunch all the numbers, it's about 1.5 times cheaper to rent a house now than it is to buy.
If you can find one.
If you can find a rental, I understand, or if you can find another purchase. Right? I mean, I'll give you a quick bidding war and then I'll stop. House, Ewing, single family, completely let go for many, many years. Old person lived there, she was 90-some years old, if you can imagine. Never had any money, bamboo growing in the backyard, every window had to be replaced, the kitchen, bathrooms, flooring, walls, all of it, heating, AC, basement was wet, right? They were asking $156,000 for this house. Today's market, just a couple weeks ago,
In Ewing,
in Ewing. Chuck, it needed more than
It needs to be knocked
$156,000.
down
is what
It
I'm
needed
thinking.
more than $156,000 to fix. That's definite. Okay? My buyer came in, he said, 180, I'll pay 188,000. I said, no, you don't. At least you gotta break 190 because that's how people think. People think in tens. That's, we have 10 fingers, 10 toes, people think in tens. You know, that's what it is. So he said, all right, fine, I trust you, we'll go to 191. I lowered my commission to bring the number up. Not by a lot, $500, whatever it is. Just, I'm contributing to, let's try and reach to get this house. There were 25 bids on this house.
I always thought 12% commission was high.
Yes. But I deserve it.
But you
But-
did
21 after. Easy
It
to
went
purchase.
over $200,000. We haven't seen the final number, but it was well over $200,000. So
And your
25.
buyer was cash.
My buyer was cash, everybody was cash, they wouldn't accept bids that were cash. That's what's happening today.